इम्पोर्टेंट होगा जो पेपर में
Yes,
आएगा?
yes, Vedangi. I will surely do that. But let's finish the polity part, which was
यस
planned for
सर।
today.
हाँ सर,
Okay.
ये सब होने के बाद आप प्लीज
Bad.
बता सकते हो।
So you are
Yes.
co-host now.
Yes. Okay,
ओके
Vedangi. I'll be
सर।
doing that. Okay.
ओके सर, थैंक यू सर।
Thank you. Just a second. So I'm sharing the screen now. So today's topic of discussion will be polity, and my name is Ryan Pinto, and I'm going to give you a brief idea exactly what can we expect in polity. We will not be able to complete all the subjects, but you will get a fair idea on all the topics, but you will get a fair idea on what is polity, what you can expect in polity. Now, polity is an important chapter because polity is actually telling you, or polity actually tells you the structure or the composition or the principles on which the government works. So that is what is polity. Not only the government, the whole political system. So polity is the structure, composition, and the principles, okay, of the whole political system. You must understand polity is different from politics and political science. So just remember these basic topics, basic points. So when we study about polity, the first thing and the most important thing that we should know is the Constitution of India, or the Constitution. So you all will be thinking, sir, what do you mean by the Constitution? Okay, many do not know exactly what is the Constitution. So if you see the screen in front of you, this is our Indian Constitution. It's a book, you can say, a very sacred book for all of us, which has the basic law of the land. So Constitution has the basic law of the land, and it includes other things also, which I'm going to discuss now in the coming part of the discussion. You can see our first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru, signing on the Constitution. It was a very uh, memorable moment when India got its first Constitution, and it was on 26th of January. We made the Constitution on 26th of November 1949, but it was enforced on 26th of January 1950, and that is why it is called as the Republic Day. We also have Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar, who is one of the most important member in the Constituent Assembly. He was the chairman of the Drafting Commission. So you can see the pictures in front of you. So when we talk about the Constitution, our whole, as I've told you, polity includes our whole political system, the ideas, the principles, the structure, and in that, Constitution is very, very important. So framing or making of the Indian Constitution, you all will need to know that, and we'll be doing it in the future. Guidelines laid down for framing of the Constitution, different sources of the Constitution. So different sources of the Constitution is very, very important. So a constitution is a document of the people, people's faith and aspirations, possessing a special legal sanctity. So it is document of people's faith and aspirations. What we want to make our country. That is what is there in the constitution. It is a fundamental law of the land. All the other laws, all the other rules and regulation comes from the constitution. And all other laws comes and customs of the country in order to be legally valid shall conform to the constitution. It is the supreme law of the land. It sets out the framework and principal functions of various organs of the government. As I have told you, it is the law of the land. Other laws, other rules, regulations comes from the constitution. It sets out the legal framework. Legal framework means how will the government work, how will the executive work, legislature, judiciary, as well as the relation between the government and the people. which is called citizenship. It prescribes the extent of the sovereign powers of the organs of the government. It tells how it will work, plus it also tells us how much the powers will be. So when we talk about the constitution, there are so many things which will come into picture. In short, a constitution is the rule book of a nation, codifying the rule of law. So I hope you all have understood what is the constitution. It includes the powers of the government, executive, legislative, judiciary, relationship with each other, relationship with the people. It is the supreme law of the land. It also shows the aspirations or what people want and what people aspire to make this country. So that is constitution. So when we study about the constitution, the most important thing that we need to know is you should have a basic idea what Indian constitution is. We will be going into details on each and every point, but today we will be having an introduction to our constitution. And when you study the constitution, automatically you are studying polity. It covers the whole subject. Polity is about the constitution. So introduction to our constitution. Our constitution has adopted the basic features of most of the major constitutions of the world as per the needs of our country. So many a time people will be thinking, from where did we get our constitution? So there is no one specific source. We have got it from various constitutions like the American Constitution, most importantly the British Constitution, Government of India Act 1935, and the other constitutions, Canadian Constitution, etc. So it's we have taken or we have been inspired by these constitutions because when we got our independence, so many constitutions have already been made. Then we didn't have a opportunity or we didn't have the space to make another constitution. So we took good things from the other constitutions. So the parliamentary system of democracy has been taken from Britain, the concept of federalism from USA, the idea of directive principles from Ireland, and few more features from the constitutions of Australia and Canada. So when we talk about our constitution, we know it has been taken from the various sources. Our constitution is federal in structure, but with unitary features. Federal means the states, we have Maharashtra, Gujarat, Rajasthan. The states are also powerful, but our center is powerful, more powerful than the states. It is a lengthy and legalistic constitution, but flexible also. This article lists 13 major features of the constitution. Actually, I have divided into 15. We can say 15 major features of the constitution is there in the article ahead, in the discussion ahead. So when we talk about a constitution, remember, first, you should know what is the constitution. Second, what is the importance of the Indian constitution? Third, you should understand we have taken the Indian constitution from various sources to fulfill, or you can say, as per our needs. In front of you, we have the major features. The 15 major features of Indian constitution are listed. You can see the Indian Parliament on the right hand side on the screen. Here in 1947, before that 1946, December 1946, the constitution was initially, the making of the constitution started in December 1946 and it was made on 26th of November 1949. All happened in this place. There are 15 major features of the Indian constitution. Okay. And remember, Indian Parliament is in Delhi. So let's see what are the 15 features. I'll just read it once and then we will go step by step, giving an introduction on all the features. First is popular sovereignty. Popular sovereignty means rule by the people. Second is rule of law. As the name says, it's rule of law. Third is judicial review. Judiciary sees to it that all the laws are made according to the constitution. Socialism, welfare is given focus on. Secularism is very, very important. Secularism means in Indian constitution, religion is separate from judiciary. Religion is separate from the state, that is government. Fundamental rights, directive principles of state policy. So that's explanatory. Fundamental rights means our constitution has our whatever the fundamental rights are. Directive principle of state policy means in our constitution it is given what the state, that is the government, should be doing. There is fundamental duties of the citizens. Judicial independence is there. We have a parliamentary system. Like in democracy, there are two types of system, parliamentary and presidential. In India, we follow the parliamentary system. We have federal and unitary features, means our states are also powerful. Our constitution is very lengthy, very legalistic. Why is it so? We are going to see. Our constitution can be changed. It is flexible. We have single citizenship, and finally, emergency provisions are there. Emergency, which you must have heard about in 1971 and 75 during the time of Indira Gandhi, and other time also during the war with Pakistan. So this is all there in our constitution. And when we study polity, we majorly focus on these topics only. So when you have to study polity and you need to know what is the syllabus, just focus on these 15 topics, very important topics. And after that, other topics like president and the prime minister, etc., they are all derived from this topic. So the most important topic is the features of our Indian constitution. So when we talk of features of Indian constitution, the first feature is popular sovereignty. Like when you say democracy, democracy means rule of the people, for the people, by the people. Demo is people, and cracy is the rule. So democracy is rule by the people. Okay. So when we talk about popular sovereignty, it means we the people are powerful. So in our constitution, in the preamble, it is written, we the people. And you must have noticed our government, the prime minister, council of ministers, even our chief minister and council of ministers, we elect them. So it is we who are powerful. They are responsible or accountable to us. So first is popular sovereignty. So when we talk about the polity, when you talk about Indian constitution, you must understand people are very important. The constitution claims the sovereignty of the people in its opening itself. Opening is the preamble, and it starts with we the people of India. Okay, so we are resolving to make India sovereign, secular, democratic republic, etc. So just remember that way. The idea is reaffirmed in several places in the constitution, particularly in the chapter dealing with elections. So in a constitution, one of the most important feature of a constitution is free and fair elections. So we have an election commission of India, which conducts the election. We have the election for the MPs, MLAs, even the local self-government bodies. So Article 326 declares that elections to the House of the People and Legislative Assembly of every state shall be on the basis of adult suffrage. Second, as a result, the government at the center and in the state derive their authority from the people who choose their representatives for the parliament and the state legislature at regular intervals. So the first point to remember, popular sovereignty. Popular sovereignty means what? People are important. Elections is important because when we elect, the government is elected. So the person whom we elect is just representative. Further, those who wield the executive power of the government are responsible to the legislature and through them to the people. And as I had told you, the people in power, the people in the government are responsible and accountable to the people, to the people. Okay, so Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers are accountable to the people through the legislature. In the future, we are going to see what is legislature, executive, judiciary. Here we are only seeing people are powerful, popular sovereignty. Thus, in the affairs of the state, it is the will of the people that prevails ultimately, and not the will of few selfish individuals. This is the principle of popular sovereignty. So, when we talk about popular sovereignty, remember elections are important. We give power to the people who are in the government, and they are responsible and accountable to us. That's the first point. The second important feature of Indian constitution, or the point you have to see in polity, is you can see the statue of justice, rule of law. According to the axiom, people are ruled by law but not by men. That is basic truism that no man is infallible. The axiom is vital to a democracy. It means everybody is ruled by law, not by men. During the ancient and medieval period, you must have seen the kings ruling over us, over the country, over many parts of the world. At that time, it was rex is lex, means whatever the king said, that became a law. Today, lex is rex, means law is king, law is powerful. So law does not change as per according to the ruler's mind. It is the same. If any person has done anything, he will be punished or rewarded according to the law, not according to the mood of someone, some other person, or a group of people. That is the meaning of rule of law. More important is the meaning that law is sovereign in democracy. The chief ingredient of law is custom, which is nothing but habitual practices and beliefs of common people over a long number of years. So chief ingredient of law, remember, is custom. So how did, first we saw law is very important. Second is, how did this law emerge, evolve, and establish? It was by many years, many years of experience, in which we also have some customs also. So all this is a part of rule of law. In the final analysis, rule of law means sovereignty of the common man's collective wisdom. Apart from this crucial meaning, rule of law means a few more things, like there is no arbitrariness, no room for arbitrariness. Each individual enjoys some fundamental rights, and the highest judiciary is the final authority. So when we talk about rule of law, 3 points you must remember. First, no man is above law, not even the prime minister or the president. If the prime minister does any crime, he will be standing in front of the courts according to the law. He has to be judged, or he has to answer the law. So the law is very important. Secondly, you must understand, how did the law evolve? It was many years of practices and customs and beliefs. And third point is, when you talk about law, what do you exactly mean? Number one, there is no room for arbitrariness. Arbitrariness means it is, you can't do anything according to your wish. Second, each individual enjoys fundamental rights. And third, highest judiciary will decide or will be the final authority of the law of the land. So 3 points you have to remember. So when we talk about rule of law and popular sovereignty, you must understand the third point is going to be judicial review. People are powerful, rule of law is there. So there is judicial review. Judicial review means the judiciary will see to it that the executive and the legislature works according to the law. It does not make law. Remember, in democracy, there are three branches: executive, legislature, and judiciary. You can see in front of your screen executive in between, legislature in the left hand side, and judiciary in the right hand side. There are three pillars of democracy, the fourth one being the media, but we'll be discussing that in other sections. When we talk about judicial review, you must understand judiciary's main job is to interpret the constitution, to see the legislature and the executive is working according to the constitution. If they find a little slackness, if the executive or legislature is not working according to the constitution, the judiciary can take proper provisions and give punishments or rewards. So in the right hand side, you can see the picture. If the law is made and that law is unconstitutional, the courts will stop that law. That is what judicial review means. So the right of judiciary to review executive acts and legal enactments where they are not in conformity with the established law of the land and the procedure and its procedure is known as the judicial review. So it is the right of the judiciary, or it is the right of judicial review, reviewing what? Executive acts and legal enhancements. So remember, legislature, there are three pillars as I have told you: legislature, executive, and judiciary. Legislature makes laws, executive executes laws, implements, and the judiciary, it interprets the laws. It sees to it that the laws are according to the constitution. If they are not, then judicial review will be initiated. Based on the principles, the based on this principle, the American Supreme Court has acquired the power to so interpret the Constitution that it has come to be known as the third chamber of the Constitution. So American Supreme Court is very powerful. Remember, it can strike down any law which is made by the executive and the legislature. Whereas in India, our Supreme Court does not enjoy the power of adding to the constitution, but it can only strike down any act or any legislation. So we first saw popular sovereignty, people are powerful. Second, we saw uh, the rule of law. And third, judicial review. In judicial review, you must understand, Supreme Court, the judiciary can stop or you can say ask the legislature and the executive not to act in certain manner if it is hurting the constitution. So our constitution is very, very important. So we started with polity. We saw what do you mean by constitution, and then we saw this is the third important chapter, you can say, the judicial review. First being the the first one is popular sovereignty. Second is judicial, that is rule of law, and third is judicial review. The fourth important topic is socialism. When we talk about socialism, it means welfare and benefit for the people. Two ideas you have to remember: one is capitalism, second is socialism. Capitalism started when there was world in the world history or in the world scenario, there was industrial revolution. In England, it started capitalism, but later they were exploiting the labor and the farmers and the common people. So just thus started socialism. And Karl Marx is a very important person. So you all can also write down the name of Karl Marx, very important for socialism. Increasing intervention as well as the participation by the state in the economic field has been distinguishing features of the 20th century. So, when we talk about socialism, when I tell you about Karl Marx, what you have to remember the role of the people, the role of the state. This is increasing. There is hardly any country today in which the state is not actively engaged. Today, the government sector is very, very important. In this time of COVID-19, you must have seen the government hospitals, the government's transport services, the government aircrafts, all were in, you can say, action mode to stop the COVID-19. Even the Food Corporation of India for food. So the government section, the government area, the public sector is very, very important. And when we talk about socialism, it is about the public sector. In varying degrees, governments everywhere are involved in economic, industrial, commercial management. This is broadly described as the influence of the socialist states or ideas on state activity. Even before the adoption of new constitution, the government of India, independent India, had made its policy to enter the economic field in a very active manner. When we talk about socialism, you have to remember the government is playing its role as a producer, manufacturer, and service giver. And you must understand by now, after 1991, the liberalization, privatization, globalization, this role of the government has been reducing, declining. And since it started not in 1991, it was way back in 1948. The Industrial Policy Resolution of 1948 gives example. It envisaged a greater role for the state in the economic development of the country. So 1948 gave major role to the state in the economic development, but slowly and steadily the government started moving towards the private sector when India was developing slowly and steadily. Certain industries such as atomic industry or energy manufacturings of arms and ammunitions were declared to be the sole monopoly of the state. The right of the state to nationalize and any major industry and bring it within the public sector was also clearly stated. So when we talk about socialism, remember government is more important. Government is playing the role. Government is trying to give opportunities and goods or commodities which the private sector is failing to do. So we spoke about popular sovereignty, that is elections and people becoming powerful. We spoke about rule of law. Law is important. Judicial review, that is judiciary can check what decisions you take. And next is socialism. In socialism, we mean it is an ideology where public sector plays a major role in development. Then another important chapter, the fifth chapter, is fundamental rights. When we talk about fundamental rights, remember there are in our Indian constitution, fundamental rights are from Article 12 to Article 35. These are the important fundamental rights you must remember. Okay, 12 to 35. When we say fundamental rights, we can divide it into various sections. So in the right hand side, cultural and educational rights, then right to freedom of religion from Article 25 to 28, right against exploitation from Article 14, or you can say Article 13 to Article 19, right to freedom, Article 19, and right to equality. Right against exploitation can be Article 23, 24, and right to equality is Article 14 to Article 18. So just you have to remember this. If you don't remember the articles, it is fine, but you know, in our constitution, we have got fundamental rights and it gives us right for cultural and education, religion rights we have, In today's time, you must have noticed a lot of things going on about the religion, interstate, interfaith marriages, and love jihad, and many other things. Right against exploitation, right to freedom, speech, expression, all these things are there. Right to equality, and finally, right to constitutional remedies. Now, this right to constitutional remedies is very, very important, and it was the brainchild of Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar. Now, when we say right to constitutional remedies, what do you mean? It means that you can go to the court if you're not getting fundamental rights. Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar said, if this is not given, then it is difficult for the people to survive in India. Right to constitutional remedies. Like today also, if you face any issues, you can directly go to the court, and the courts will help you and save you. So just remember that. So when we talk about fundamental rights, the Constitution contains the basic principle that every individual is entitled to enjoy certain rights as a human being. And the enjoyment of such rights does not depend upon the will of any majority or minority. Every person has got individual rights. That's fundamental rights. No majority has the right to abrogate such rights. In fact, the legitimacy of the majority to rule is derived from the existence of these rights. You must remember that these rights are very important. It is given to the individuals. No majority or minority can take away your rights. And if you want to live your life to the fullest and develop, these rights are important. These rights include basic liberties such as freedom of speech, movement, association, equality before law, equal protection of law, freedom of religion, beliefs, and culture, educational freedoms. So when we talk about freedoms, you have to remember this, or fundamental rights, you have to remember this. Freedom is in Article 19 of our Indian Constitution. The next important topic that you need to know about polity: Directive Principles of State Policy, DPSP in short. Directive Principle of State Policy means the Constitution tells the state means the government. Don't think state means the state government. We are talking about the government as a whole, state government as well as the uh, central government, and all the components or all the departments of the state as well as central government. So in the constitution, it is given on the directive principles of the state policy, means how the states should behave, what are the things that state should give to the people. You must have noticed, people ask a lot of employment and food, health, education, etc. And the government does give you all those things. From where does it get those ideas? One of the area is the constitution, where it has the directive principles of state policy, from article 36 to article 51. So remember, when we talk about the constitution, remember, or when we talk about polity, the first focus has to be popular sovereignty. Then we have rule of law. After that, we have judicial review, fundamental rights, and DPSP. Okay, so just remember. And DPSP means directive principles, means the constitution is directing the states to work in certain manner. It is for the first time in India's constitution, a chapter on directive principles of the state policy has been included. So after 1947, first time it was included in 1950. That is in our Indian constitution. Before that, Indians did not have equal freedom of religion and speech, etc. Okay. Before it, the Government of India Act 19, even directive principles was not there before 1950, before our constitution was made. Before it, in the Government of India Act, there was no instrument of instruction for the Governor General, but it was quite different from the present directives. Okay, so there was no directive principles before; it was added later. These directives are a guidelines for the governments, but their violation cannot be challenged in the court of law. Remember, they are like the guidelines for the government. Government should give free food and free employment and health, etc., etc. These are just guidelines. According to few critics, when the directive has no legal binding, these are useless. But that is not. These are the manifestations of our aims and aspirations. So when we talk about directive principles, many criticize that the government need not follow it. Courts can't do anything, but it is directive principle is more than legal. It is an advice what we should ask the government. It is our aims and aspirations. The government of the day can choose to violate these, but if the people take violation seriously, they can throw the government out of power. So the government might say we will not provide health and free education, free employment, etc. They can do that, but the people will not keep them in power. That is what is DPSP all about. The greatest force behind these directives are or is the will of the people. The directives are guidelines both for the people as well as the government. These save us from duping in the dark. Thus, these principles are not mere precepts but a great moral force. So they are guidelines. They let us know what we should ask from the government. They tell the government what they should be giving to us. So that is directive principle. So if anyone asks you what is the meaning of directive principles, you must tell them that this is what constitution tells the state or the government to do. So when we talk about salient features or important topics, what are the various topics that we have seen? First, we saw popular sovereignty. Then we saw judicial review. After that, we spoke about the fundamental rights, directive principle of state policy. Okay, so these are the rule of law we have seen. These are the important salient features which we will revise again. The next important salient feature or next important topic for polity is fundamental duties. So we have directive principle of state policy. We have fundamental rights. We also have fundamental duties. So if you are enjoying some rights, you also have some duty to follow. Okay, so you have to remember this. And this duty is given in Article 51A. From 12 to 35 is our fundamental rights, 36 to 51 is directive principle of state policy. 51A is our fundamental duty. There are around 11 duties that we will be seeing later. Some of them are respect the national flag, respect the national anthem, etc. So that we can see later. Then we have judicial independence. We saw judicial, that is rule of law. We saw that law is important. We also saw judicial review, that every law, every thing done in the country will be checked by the judiciary. And for doing all this, judiciary needs to be independent. So man's long struggle has been to live under a government of laws, not of men. So since ages, especially in 1789 and later, if you remember or if you have an idea, 1789 we started, or there started a French Revolution. What was this revolution for? What was this French Revolution? It was so that they can overthrow the monarchy. And we know later Napoleon Bonaparte came, and he was also thrown over. He was uh, in the Saint Helena Islands. He was captured, etc. So that's a different thing. That's French Revolution. So there are many such revolutions, and all for one motive: to live under a government of laws, not of men. Equal justice under the law has for long been his cherished ideal. A system, a system which under which the new law is applicable to all alike. Man has in all ages been striving to escape the regime that dispenses justice according to the political or religious ideology of the litigant. As a consequence of this struggle, there has been established principle of abiding values that no judiciary can be impartial unless it is independent. So judicial independence is very important. Man has always fought so that the law can be supreme, and for this, an independent judiciary is needed. In India, also, we have an independent judiciary. Our judiciary is integrated. We will be seeing that later, integrated as well as independent judiciary. Inde- Integrated means we have the lower courts, we have the high court, and the Supreme Court. Integrated. And independent means everything is according to the rule of law. Okay. In fact, the judicial process ceases to be judicial the moment those who seek to judge cease to be independent of every form of external influence. Hence, the importance of judicial independence. So, what you have to understand is the judiciary is very important. No one can influence it from outside, and judiciary takes into consideration all the decisions according to the facts. Okay, so we have seen judicial review, we have seen rule of law, and judicial independence. They all go together. Judicial review means what? Every law made by the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. So, as I've told you, there are three pillars of democracy. Legislature makes laws, executive executes laws, and judiciary is seeing if that laws are proper or no, interprets the constitution or the laws. And that is how we get judicial review. And that is why you must know the judiciary is important and the rule of law is important. For all this, judiciary should be independent. So they are all connected. So three features you must by heart it, or you must learn it or know it together. So when we talk about judiciary, look at the screen. The next important thing is the legislature. Okay, the Parliament of India. We follow the parliamentary system of democracy in our country. Parliamentary system of democracy ka, what do you mean by the meaning? What is the meaning of parliamentary system of democracy? The basic meaning, understand: executive is part of the legislature. Means executive should answer the legislature. There is check and balance. Executive and legislature should answer the judiciary. Even judiciary, there are various things like the appointment of the judges and all. They are all made by the president. So it means each of them are separate but having check and balance. That is the beauty of our constitution. So we saw about judiciary, judicial review, rule of law, judicial independence. We saw about popular sovereignty, the people are important. We saw about fundamental rights, fundamental duties, DPSP. Now we are seeing parliamentary system of democracy. We follow the parliamentary system. Our parliament is in New Delhi, as I had told you earlier, where the constitution was made. The framers of our constitution preferred a parliamentary system of government. Our infant democracy could ill afford any confrontation between the executive and the legislature if they were separate and independent of each other. So our democracy could not afford that, could not afford if executive and legislature, if they were separate and independent, we could not. So executive was made part of legislature so that the prime minister and the council of minister will answer whatever the steps they take. So in our executive, remember there is the prime minister and council of ministers, legislature is the member of parliament, and then you have judiciary. But remember, our prime minister is also a member of parliament. It means executive is part of legislature. The president of India is the constitutional head of the union executive, but it but he exercised the executive power vested in him according to the advice of the council of ministers. So in our country, first of all, executive is part of the legislature. Remember, that is why we call it as parliamentary system. There are other features also, like there are two heads. One is the namesake, that is nominal head. Second is the real head. And as you must have known, the prime minister is the real head of the government. The real executive power thus vests with the council of ministers, with the head prime minister as the head. The council of ministers is collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. The same is true of the relationship between governors and the council of ministers in the state. So they have responsibility to the Lok Sabha. It means if the prime minister and council of ministers not working properly, they can be removed. That is what executive being part of the legislature means. And that is why we have a parliamentary system of democracy. Remember, in democracy, there are two types, direct and indirect democracy. In indirect democracy, there is two types, parliamentary and the presidential system. We follow the parliamentary system, whereas United States follows the presidential system. It means we are giving more focus on accountability. Next is federal and unitary features. Federal and unitary features, you must remember, that is the states are powerful and center and states are also there. Means center government also is there. States are powerful. Though center is more powerful, but states also have their own power, have their own list, have their own area of influence. These are the basic things that you should be knowing. Okay, so we started with the polity, which started with the constitution, and as I have told you, our structure, our system, it comes because of the constitution. So that is why when we say polity, it consists the whole of the constitution. You should know the basics. Now, what is the basics of the constitution? It is having some features. As I told you, popular sovereignty, rule of law, then we have judicial review, and I linked it with judicial independence. Freedoms are there. We have got a lot of freedom. Fundamental duties are there. Directive principles of state policies are there. Parliamentary system, and now federal and unitary features. Federal means the word federation has not been used anywhere in the constitution, but in fact, India has been described as the union of states. The provinces and the princely states were not sovereign entities before they joined the federation. The states are not inviolable or indestructible as in the USA. India is a federal system. Our states are powerful. States like Maharashtra, Gujarat, etc. But it can be broken by the central government. That is why you must understand we have a federal feature with unitary, more tilted towards the unitary. India has two government functioning, uh, sorry, the parliament can by law change or alter the areas and boundaries of any state. No state has right to secede from the union. No state can say, I want to be a separate country. We are, remember, write down this sentence, we are an indestructible union of destructible states. Means we can break the states, small parts, but the states can't leave the union and say, I want to be a separate country. India has two governments functioning at the national and the state levels with a clear cut distribution of powers. Both the state and the union government draw their authority from the constitution. Remember, so both states and union, that is the central government and the state government, gets its power from the constitution. Now, coming again to the constitution, we have a very lengthy and a legalistic constitution. By now, you must have understood if there are 15 features, so many things are written in the constitution about judiciary, about rule of law, about judicial supremacy, independence of the judiciary, popular sovereignty, fundamental rights, DPSP, fundamental duties. If so many things are written, it means it is a lengthy and legalistic document. It is mostly lengthy and legalistic constitutional document any country has so far adopted. One reason has drawn it has been drawn from the various sources. So why it is so lengthy? Why it is so legalistic? First of all, it is from various sources. The other is that the constitution makers ensured no element of uncertainty was left. They saw to it that it is complete, everything is taken care of. It codifies in detail the relationship between the union and the state's interest, and contains both justiciable and non-justiciable rights. So first of all, it is lengthy. Reason is it is taken from various sources. Second, it tries to be as complete and comprehensive as possible. As a constitution is not only a legal document but an instrument of social change. It has to be a detailed document. Also, care has to be taken to ensure that constitution is not subverted or perverted by any future government. There are numerous inbuilt constitutional safeguards. So our constitution is lengthy, it is legal, it has been taken from various sources. Many people's interests are taken into consideration. Plus, sees to it that outside forces don't break our constitution. And that is why 70 years of India's formation, still we have a beautiful constitution with us and we are studying about it. Many countries, the constitution has changed not once, twice, but 4, 5 times. Flexibility of the constitution. The constitution is the same does not mean that it has remained the same from first only, that there was no changes earlier also it was like this now also. No, there is some flexibility. Some eminent lawmakers are of the view that constitution is rigid, but we know that it has been possible to amend over 100 times. Around 100 times constitution can be has been amended. So it is rigid, it is the same, but there is a flexibility, chance of flexibility also. You can make some changes, and you would want to, right? Because what was happening in 1947, that time the constitution was made, the things are completely different now. New ideas, new uh, people, new way of living, new technology, and old constitution, no, can't work. Our constitution is more flexible than the American constitution, which requires from three-fourths of the states. In our constitution provision, ratification of amendments by three-fourths of the states. So the procedure of how it is amended, we'll be doing when we do it in detail later. But for now, you must just understand, okay, it can be amended. In our constitution, only amending of a few provisions requires ratification by half of the states. Most of the provisions of the constitution can be amended by two-thirds majority of each house of the parliament. Some can be by simple majority also. So we are just seeing the process and the procedure. You need not worry about it. Just focus that flexibility is there. The constitution can be supplemented by simple legislation like Citizenship Act, National Security Act. So it is easy to amend the constitution. Moreover, the scope for growth of conventions to supplement the constitution makes it more flexible. Conventions govern the privileges and right of the legislature, the functioning of the cabinet system, the status of the cabinet secretaries, etc. So our constitution is so flexible, it tries to accommodate every possibilities. So it is very lengthy, it is very legal, it has been there since ages, that is 70 years, plus it is flexible also according to the time. That is the beauty of our constitution. One of the most important factor. We have a single citizenship. Though we are a federal country means I had told you the states are powerful, but our unitary is our union, our central government is strong. Plus, we have single citizenship. We are not just citizens of Maharashtra or Gujarat or Karnataka or Bihar, etc. No, we are citizens of India. In a federation, there is usually double citizenship. A citizen belongs to the state in which he is born and also to enjoys the citizenship rights of the federation to which his state has joined as a unit. This is on the basic principles of federation. But in India, there is single citizenship. Citizens belong to the Indian Union and not to any particular state. Provision of single citizenship for the whole of India was perhaps intentional. The Constitution Fathers, in the lights of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, did not like regionalism and disintegrating the tendencies which led to or encourage regionalism. They did not like all that. So they said, let's make this country very like it could stand against any outside dangers so that we can have security and we can have integrity, unity. So that's single citizenship. Provision for double citizenship would have naturally stood on the way of emotional and national integration. So our constitution is lengthy. It is legal, lot of legal things, rigid plus flexible. Plus, it talks about single citizenship. And the final provision, there is something called as emergency also. One of the unique features, there is this, the emergency, the feature of emergency is hardly there in any of the constitution of the world. Some principles are there from, that we have taken it from Germany. But emergency you will not see in many of the constitutions. According to emergency provisions, when the head of the state is satisfied that it is impossible to run the country in accordance with normal procedure, in the constitution, he can declare an emergency. So if the head of the state, that's our president, is satisfied, we know president works according to the advice of prime minister, but if he is satisfied that there is a situation of emergency, then emergency is put into place. The emergency can be financial or political. Declaration of emergency has far-reaching effects, and its consequences are that with such a declaration, fundamental rights are suspended and court of laws can refuse to entertain petitions. So during emergency, you can't enter the courts. You can't ask for fundamental rights. So remember, we started with polity. I asked you what do you mean by polity, and we then came to constitution, because polity means the structure, the ideas, the principles, etc., and that is given by the constitution. So when if you have to remember, polity means how our country is actually made. And how do we know that? By seeing the constitution. And what is the important points which are there in the constitution? The 15 features we just spoke about. We spoke about first, popular sovereignty. We the people, important. Second, we spoke about judiciary, judicial review, rule of law, judicial independence. Then we spoke about fundamental rights. Our constitution gives us fundamental rights. DPSP. DPSP means what the government should be doing. Fundamental duties. Then we spoke about parliamentary system. In India, we have the parliamentary system where executive is part of legislature. I told you about the three pillars of democracy. We also spoke about independence of judiciary. Then we spoke about federal system and unitary system. Federal means what? States are powerful. Unitary is powerful. We have a mix of federal and unitary. Then we spoke about the constitution. It is very lengthy, it is flexible, and we have also seen it has been taken from various sources. And lastly, we saw single citizenship and emergency. Emergency, you must remember Article 352, 356, and 360. So when we talk about polity, these are the areas which are touched. This is the area that is covered. Okay, so I hope you all have understood. Please read it properly, and if doubts, let me know. So that's all for the discussion. I think Vedangi,
Yes, sir.
you were asking on how the questions will come, and what are the topics,
What
right?
are the
What were you asking?
topics important for exam that will come in exam, sir?
First of all, when is the exam?
Sir, 13.
13th of December, right?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
see, now you have very less time. What my suggestion would be, whatever we are doing, try to touch that, and the we don't have time to, like, if I could teach you the whole of fundamental rights, but that will only take around 10 days. You're understanding? So what you
Yes,
have to
sir.
do, is and the questions are also not so much in detail. Okay, what you have to do is do some basic studies of whatever the now if you take consideration of polity. I will talk about polity today. So whatever I have discussed on fundamental rights, DPSP, etc., just type in Google or see in YouTube, like some basic introduction what this exactly means.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so
Okay,
for
sir.
you all, they are only asked for NTSE. They will be only asking very basic questions, but your basic knowledge has to be covered. And I tried to give out whatever the basic knowledge you all needed to have.
Yes, sir. Okay,
So
sir.
we have
And sir, we
recorded.
can refer the SSC textbook also, no, 10th standard.
Yes, SSC and all textbooks are there. So
Okay,
these
sir.
topics are, you'll find these topics there also.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, and other thing is, these lectures are recorded also. You can ask ma'am to give these recorded lectures, and then you can revise from these lectures also again. Okay,
Sir,
and yes, Vedangi.
सर एग्जाम में हिस्ट्री के बेस्ड कितने सारे क्वेश्चंस आते हैं, कुछ आइडिया है सर?
See, detailed cutoff और कितना रहेगा वगैरह, we will be having a separate lecture for that. Okay,
ओके सर.
so I will be just because उसके लिए बहुत time लगेगा. अभी मैं वो करने बैठूं तो it will be little difficult. So what I want you all to do is जो lectures हुए हैं उसको थोड़ा सा पहले read करने का और देखने का ये करो. Then we will try to have some detailed cutoff based वैसा कुछ discussion, and then we can explain to you how everything can happen by taking 1 hour पूरा 1 घंटा लेके आराम से, ठीक है?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
And if you all want the recorded lectures, please contact ma'am, take the lectures, and you can send it to your friends and let them also know how it goes. ठीक है? So that it helps them.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very
Yeah.
much, sir.
Thanks a lot to all of you. And yes, bye-bye. Take care.
Bye, sir. Take care, sir.
Bye-bye.
Students, I'll be sending you the notes by the end of the day. And
Yes,
yesterday
ma'am.
also math lectures is pending. Yesterday which chapter has been done in math?
Ma'am, ranking and numbers and ranking and blood relation.
Okay, I'll send it by today. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
And
Okay,
this
ma'am.
polity today, sir has taken polity, na?
Yes,
That also
ma'am.
I'll be sending it by the end of the day. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. And
And
मैम
as
फर्स्ट
informed-
लेसन फर्स्ट लेक्चर में जो सर ने पढ़ाया था उसका असाइनमेंट आपने भेजा क्या?
No, I have not sent because I have not received from him. I'll ask him in a time, in some
Okay,
time, and
ma'am.
I'll send it together. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
His history I had sent, it seems. History I had sent.
Okay, ma'am. I'll check and I'll inform
One
you.
history I have sent, and the polity today I'll send it. And yesterday's 2 chapters of math, correct?
History PDF.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And listen, one more thing. As I informed in the earlier before the lecture started, that we'll be keeping a mock session, not mock session, paper discussion on Friday and Saturday. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
One will be for math and one will be for SAT.
Okay, ma'am.
And for tomorrow, for 2 lectures, that also I'll inform by the end of the day, or either any one of the lecture would be definitely there. If bio is not there, chemistry will be definitely there. Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Chalo,
Yes,
bye.
ma'am.
Take care,
Thank you,
everyone,
ma'am.
Ma'am,
Bye.
ma'am,
Huh?
ma'am, have you shared the PDF for history for
Yes, I have
chapter?
already done. I'll send it again if you want.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, chalo.
Okay, ma'am.
Bye.
Bye, ma'am. Take care, ma'am.
Yeah, take care. Bye.